You see, before all this journey, I was just this average woman who has a job, a stable career in IT, who had a husband and also has a kid. So I thought that life would just look like this for the next decades. However, I ended up changing a lot of my life because I went through a divorce and then I came across personal development and spirituality and met people who also helped me on this journey. So, you see, before I began on this journey, I really hadn't had much idea of what it was really waiting for me on the other side. And then I started to go deeper in my journey when I actually met someone who was a life coach. And then he actually introduced me to many different concepts. The concept of the mind, how our subconscious work, the concept of masculine and feminine polarity in relationships especially, and then also meditation, spirituality, energy. So there was a lot at that time for me to process. And I remember you see, when it comes to inner work, I don't really have any framework of reference back then. And I remember that at that time, I was still really disconnected with my heart, with my inner world. So I wasn't really familiar how emotions and feelings work inside of me and how to actually process them. And at the beginning, he actually told me, oh, just let them come up, let them come up. When whatever you feel, let them come up. And I actually mistook it for like permission to, okay, just let it come up. Is it just like that to reconnect with my feelings? But so I let them come up, but then I wasn't really knowing how to manage them. So what it looks like, and it happens with a lot of people that starts to go deeper in inner work, is that we start to feel overwhelmed with all the things that are starting to come up. But instead of understanding that, okay, there's a difference between acknowledging and letting them surface and actually how to express and contain them. And by containment, I don't mean to repress them again, because then we would just go back to disconnecting with how we feel. But actually knowing how to redirect them. So for example, if I am feeling rejected or angry or some negative feelings and like I'm boiling, instead of just lashing out or just, expressing it in ways that can hurt people, it's more about first acknowledging how I feel, the validity. Okay, there is a reason why I feel like this. Let's have more curiosity and see why is this coming up. But then also learning how to direct it and contain it. So expressing it in a way that it's not hurtful and create basically more hurt on the other person as well. So it is like, for example, learning how to say, like what you said kind of hurt my feelings, and maybe next time instead of saying this, we can try this, and etc. So this would be a way of learning how to contain it and express it in better ways. But what I noticed that so many of us, when we initiate on our journeys in personal development and start to do the inner work with our emotions, to learn how to work with our emotions, we are basically like kids, And I think that it was Teal Swan that I came across a video of her some time ago. And it was so on point that she said that when we have a certain trauma, like for example, when we are 7 years old and we express our anger, and that is not well received, or we are taught to express it in healthier ways, and instead we are told that this isn't good, we are punished, and then we repress it, the trauma that we have, which is this pattern of repression and that, oh, this is not good, then we stay at that age in terms of emotional maturity on how to deal with those emotions. So what happens is that we need the space, a container, to be able to allow that to come up again, which comes from a form of having the courage and having the self-acceptance, the first step, to acknowledge it, okay, there must be a reason for me to feel this way. And then I'll allow it to come up. And then the inner work, the additional inner work to help us reach a new level of maturity age is to actually learn how to then manage and channel it, redirect it, and express it in healthier ways that is more nurturing and fostering of more understanding and healthy connections. So when we begin to embrace our emotions and validate our emotions, which is the first step of inner work, then the next step of the inner work is to learn how to manage and express it in healthier ways. And then what I notice also in the personal development world is that unfortunately many people, we start to be in this level of working about our inner traumas and negative emotions. And then we reach this catharsis, we reach these transformations, realizations over and over again. But then we stay often on this level for a long time before we actually realize that, okay, maybe life won't be about healing completely, because like there are lots of things that we can keep on healing, but life still goes on. And the importance is not to just focus on healing and purging and, working on our traumas all the time, but actually start to also learn and incorporate new things and expand. Like, how does this look like? So, for example, for me, I have been like a few years of learning how to understand how I feel, acknowledging my emotions, and then learning how to express them. But now, recently, I reached a new level that basically my inner world, I could sense it that, okay, now it's enough. I am a bit tired of the trauma work, the shadow work, the inner work. Now I will continue to do that, but what I want is to expand, is to grow, is to, go more, go beyond. And because life has so much more. And it's interesting because at the same time that I am having this inner calling, inner voice to actually not focus so much on the trauma anymore, but just grow and expand and learn new things, go to new horizons. I noticed that the teachers, two of my most favorite teachers, they actually are also talking about this. So I have two teachers, amazing women, and I learned so much from them. One is Satya, my teacher from the Awareness Facilitator School, and another is a teacher of feminine energetics that helped me learn so much about relationships and how to apply things in the real life. And what they started to also talk about recently is that we cannot just stay in the inner work bubble. And you see, spirituality is much more than just sitting down and meditating in our corners. And it's much more than, oh, I am not ready for a relationship yet, so I'm not going to be in a relationship. No, the real spirituality, the real inner work is often about how we are applying what we learn in the real life. And the one of my teachers, she said that, if you want to do real inner work, either get married, have kids, or have a business. And yeah, I've been like experiencing this recently, especially the business part. And so we cannot stay forever in the trauma and all. We got start to also live our lives, because we always have things to heal. So if we stop there, then it will just be a loop of shadow work and trauma work and etc. Then when are we actually going to expand? And expansion can look like, for example, you go on and manifest more things in your life. Go after what you really want. And for example, me starting a business, instead of sitting there with my blocks or whatnot, like my subconscious the limiting beliefs and the fears and etc., sometimes it's also about, okay, I feel that I have worked enough with that for now. Let me just go there. Let me just start the business and see where it leads me. And then whatever that comes up moment by moment during my business, the things that I create in my business, then I'll see what comes up for me, then and I'll do the shadow work, the inner work in the moment that the things come up. And instead of just sitting in our corner. And that is so important. So you see, when we go to personal development, there are like different phases. And the first phase is to have more awareness, to understand and actually learn how to embrace how we feel, to accept and validate that there might be a reason. Let me see why it is coming up. And then the second is to have more maturity. We actually have to learn then how to process, deal, and channel and manage all the feelings, all the limiting beliefs, all the traumas that are coming up. And then it's important to also have this phase of expansion where you don't just pause your life, and instead you just allow yourself the opportunity to have the business that you want to do and have the relationship that you want to do. Because, for example, relationships, so many people believe that, oh, I'm not ready for a relationship, I need to do a lot of inner work. Well, there is a space and time for that. For example, imagine that you just broke up. Maybe you might want to have some time to reconnect with how you feel, so that you can at least work that out. But then don't wait to be perfect, don't wait for yourself to be that perfect man, perfect woman to actually, then manifest the relationship. Because sometimes it's about that there are certain things that we can only heal when we are in the field, when we are in the relationship. For example, I know someone that he used to not be in a relationship for years, and he was doing a lot of inner work. But then, when he thought that he was, okay, I am quite healed and all, I am prepared to have a relationship, then he jumped in a relationship, and actually, he realized that he was not ready at all, that many traumas started to come up, and he didn't know how to handle it, and that actually had a negative impact in the relationship. But the thing is, you cannot just wait like, oh, I am too afraid to sabotage my next relationship. Because what you can do is that, okay, now I feel that I have let's say that, imagine if I broke up with someone, and then after a while I feel, okay, now I don't feel this pull or need or this grief. I went through a grieving process, so that sometimes I might still feel sad, but I don't feel the need to go back to the relationship. Then maybe I can start to open up to new possibilities of relationship. And then when in a relationship, then I don't have to expect everything to be perfect, not for me and not for the other person. But maybe what I can do is that whenever things come up, then try to learn the best way that I could on how to actually deal with things together, whether it comes up from me or from my partner or from both. So yeah, it's important that, okay, we need to do the inner work, we need to learn how to process things, how to channel things, and how to, yeah, to work with releasing and purging the traumas and limiting beliefs. But at the same time, don't just pause your life. Allow yourself to continue. Embrace the experience that life can bring you and the potential healing opportunities that life can bring you, because sometimes the certain things really they just come up when situations come, you know. So if you find this useful, please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope that you enjoyed this content, and stay tuned